KFAN.
Now, we are into the final hour of the 9 to noon radio presentation, a day in front of the NFL draft. And we're cramming the draft between Minnesota Wild and Minnesota Timberwolves topics. And that continues with the NFL draft being tomorrow and the Vikings selecting a team. We are emptying our Elite Draft Minds notebook to satisfy you, the draft-loving community. And from footballtakeover.com and the sideline analyst for the Houston Texans and their radio network, our friend John Hynes joins us now. Hey, outside of football for a second, John, but including football, let me ask you this. Who's the most popular team in Houston and why? The Texans, the Rockets, or the Astros?
Well, I can tell you this, Paul, with the way the Rockets and Astros are playing, it is definitely the Texans. That wasn't the case when you think back to the COVID year and then the next couple of years, 2020 to 2022, we were not the favorite child of Houston fans. We were almost an afterthought. We made people so mad with the things that we did. It was tough to be in the building a lot of times. The Astros really have been that team for a long time, but the right way of saying this, there's so much talent that's gone out the door that they just have not been able to keep up, and they have really started the season poorly. The Rockets going out to L.A. and not playing well. Houston's a really unique city in the sense that when a team is winning, everybody is on board. But when a team is struggling, oh, man, those fans, they've got something better to do than go watch a Texans game or go to an Astros game. And right now, everybody's all about the draft because the Rockets are down 0-2 in this series to the Lakers, and they're missing their 2-star players. The Astros, I think, have lost, it's 15 out of 19.
Wow.
So fans are not happy about that. And then you look at the Texans, and they like what they did in free agency. They really like DeMeco Ryans. Will Anderson Jr. is one of the city's favorite sons right now.
Yeah.
It has been for a while. And I think they see that, hey, a good draft can really put us over the top and get us to a Super Bowl for the first time. So, yeah, the Texans right now are the favorite child, but that has not always been the case.
You've done football analysis at a very high level for a long time, specifically with the draft and John's website, footballtakeover.com. Why do you think sports fans alike love the NFL draft as much as they do?
It's a great question, Paul. I've often thought about it myself. Like, why is a draft so exciting? Like, I can watch any draft. Like the other night, the WNBA draft was on, and I watched it. I think there's something about that with the 5th pick, the New York Giants select, and everybody kind of holds their breath. And then as soon as the name is called, you get excited about, okay, what that player can do. Or if you're a Jets fan, you sit there and wait in anticipation, and then you hear the name Ken O'Brien, and you're like, who's Ken O'Brien? And you just have this visceral reaction to what happens. And I think that's what a draft does, because you don't know. And especially for the NFL draft, because there's so many months of lead up to it, that you really get invested in who these players are, where they're from, what my team might look like. And I think what also has kind of grown the draft, similar to fantasy football, where fans could play along. You've got all these mock draft simulators now. I mean, I've got people in my family that I got nephews that send me a mock draft for their, they love the Carolina Panthers because they're in North Carolina, and they're like, they call me coach, and they're like, Coach, what do you think of my mock draft for the Panthers? And so I think people can they can participate now. They can do their own mock drafts. They can come up with their own big boards. And the good thing, Paul, in a sense, is nobody's really wrong. They've got their opinions about what they think. I've treated it a little bit differently over the years. I think deep down, I always wanted to be a scout, so I kind of get to play like a scout in a sense, which is kind of fun. But it's weird that a tentpole event in the NFL is just a bunch of names being called out. It's bizarre, really. I mean, we've been around and seen this thing for a long time, but I think the draft and the way that it's grown has kind of blown all of our minds in a sense. But I love it. I mean, it's one of the things that I've always loved. I loved it when I was a kid. When I was in college, I didn't have cable in my dorms at Brown University. So I would go downtown to a bar, eat some Italian food, and sit there all day eating everything I could so I could watch the 1991 NFL draft. Yeah. So I've been a little twisted from the beginning, and I've just carried that through until now.
Hey, Johnny, we haven't chatted in about a month. So any like of late for you, whether it's steam, as we would say, that you've incurred via background information, or just poring over film, or just any big revelations or recent changes for you with Football Takeover? I mean, like guys with whom you have fallen in or out of love the last couple of weeks.
I think one of them for me, and I heard his name at the Combine, and I wasn't paying too much attention because we have two really good edge rushers in Houston, as everybody knows, Danielle Hunter, who you know very well, Paul, and Will Anderson Jr., who signed a big contract. And they extended Danielle, and they obviously extended Will just yesterday. So there's a lot of money at the edge position, but we don't really have a lot of depth. And it hit me kind of after the Combine, like, wait a second, we might need to do some things at edge. And so I started watching the edge rushers a little bit closer. And this kid, Malachi Lawrence from out of UCF, just popped off the screen. And I remembered him from the game against the University of Houston, which obviously being in Houston, I was following the Cougars. It was a Friday night game. And this guy just wrecked the game from the edge. And he's wearing number 51. So, of course, you just, that's the UCF version of Will Anderson Jr. But he looked kind of light. Thought he's like 230. You know, yeah. He's probably a college edge rusher. And you look it up, it's like, he's 253. And he ran really well at Combine, 4.5-ish. And I started thinking, he's a little different than Danielle and Will. Hey, maybe this guy might be, he might be a fit. So I started watching a couple more games of Malachi Lawrence from UCF, and I just started falling in love with him. And then probably the last month or so, every mock draft you see, they got Malachi Lawrence in this first round. They got him going to this team. Well, they got him going at number 25. And so here I thought maybe the Texans had an opportunity to make a steal in the second round. And I think, man, they may not even get him a shot at him in the first round. So Malachi Lawrence is definitely one of those guys that I've fallen in love with, the edge rusher out of UCF.
Yep.
And I think some team is going to get a guy that can just blaze the edge. I don't know what happened to JG in Minnesota, and I know that Dallas Turner was drafted a few years ago, but when I think about a guy like that and you put him opposite Van Ginkel or just in Brian Flores' rush packages, man, that would get me excited too. But I think even in Houston, he could be a spot rusher or just a pass rusher. They have to play rundown. Just bring him in on 15 rush downs as a rookie. And I think he could end up with 6-7 sacks and really make an impact on the team here. So Malachi Lawrence, for me, is that guy that really kind of popped the last couple of months.
What kind of damage, the Dallas Cowboys, what kind of damage can the Cowboys do with 12-20?
That's a great question. And you know Jerry very well. So, the damage could be great for the Cowboys and bad for the rest of the league, or it could be bad for Jerry and good for the rest of the league. But I just think they have to go defense. And with 12-20, there's been a lot of talk about them moving up to 3 and a lot of smoke about them moving up to 3. And it would make a lot of sense to me to get either Arvell Reese or David Bailey. Now, it seems like they're high on David Bailey. But to me, Arvell Reese would kind of be like Micah Parsons in the sense that Reese could play linebacker, but he also can play on the edge, which is what Micah was when he got to Dallas. He was a guy that played off the ball, and then they basically built him into an edge rusher. And I think they realized, as much as they didn't want to pay Micah, and Micah can be high maintenance, I think they realized, we miss him. We miss his impact. And so it wouldn't surprise me to see Dallas put those two picks together, go up to 3, and get Arvell Reese and David Bailey. And I think that would take a bottom 3 in the NFL defense up to being a really stout defense. Now you got Quinnen Williams on the inside. Now they've gone and gotten a really explosive young rusher athlete out on the edge. If they stay at 12-20, they won't get Sonny Styles. They won't get Caleb Downs. They won't get a really great impact player. They'll get a good player, but I think Jerry's got to make a little bit of a splash to go get one of the high-impact players in this draft. And he's got the ammunition to do it. It's just a matter of whether he pulls the trigger or not. I know last year we had been discussing apparently a trade with them, but they did not want a pick in 2026. And so they would not trade down. Well, if they had that pick this year, they could take the 3 picks they had and definitely move up. But I think they'll get in the top 7 and get one of those guys defensively that they absolutely need. The crazy move would be if they moved up and then took Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think the offense needs any help. The defense does. But could you see Jerry doing something like that? Absolutely. And Jeremiah Love would be a hit in Dallas. There's no question about that. But I just think they've got to go up and get one of those superstars, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs maybe, or David Bailey, who plays college ball at Texas Tech.
All right. Well, speaking of that Notre Dame running back, Jeremiah Love, Dexter Lawrence gets traded from the Giants to the Cincinnati Bengals. And now the Giants have close to proper currency if needed to move up if they want to. And does it make sense for the Giants to trade up for running back Jeremiah Love?
I think it does, Paul. It's just a matter of how much.
Yeah.
In kind of monitoring the board, let's say Fernando goes first and then Reese or Bailey go 2 and 3 maybe. I think where you got to be careful is the Cardinals. Now, I do think there's a lot of smoke around the Cardinals wanting to move. And so this whole, hey, our owner really likes Jeremiah Love and we'll pull the trigger on it if you don't trade with us. I don't know. The Cardinals have a lot of other needs. They went and signed Tyler Algier and had James Conner coming back. I mean, allocation of resources, their defense was not great. We didn't have a great offense last year. We put 40 up on them. So they need help defensively badly. So I can't see them taking Jeremiah Love. So it's just a matter of, all right, what do the Titans do? Well, the Titans need defense as well. So the Giants could actually sit there at 5 and probably make that pick. But they, to make sure they got that guy, I think moving 2 spots with Arizona, how much they'd have to give up. They still have pick number 10. I wouldn't give that one up, but I might give up a second rounder to move up, maybe a second and a third next year to move up a couple of spots to make sure that they get their guy. And then all of a sudden you've got Jeremiah Love and a healthy Cam Skattebo, and I think John Harbaugh would have the kind of running game he's always desired there with the New York Giants. And that would be all kinds of fun. Let the NFC East have to deal with that duo. We have to deal with them this year, but I don't want to have to deal with that duo. But yeah, I can see John Harbaugh doing that for sure. Winning the game on the ground, getting Jackson Dart to play within the scheme, not playing so much, as I call it, YOLO ball. And all of a sudden that Giants offense can start to take off, and Malik Neighbors coming back healthy as well. So they could be a dangerous, dangerous team if they end up with Love. And, hey, moving 2 spots to make sure you get your guy. I mean, we did it, in 2023, we moved 9 spots. And it was well worth it as Will Anderson Jr. got his extension of $150 million on Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever it was. That was well worth it. We moved 9 spots. Go move 2 spots and get your guy if you feel it.
This is John Harris. He is a former scout, also the sideline analyst for the Houston Texans radio network, and he has a draft-related website called footballtakeover.com, footballtakeover.com. Speaking of the Texans, John, if you could handpick one realistic player for your squad at 28, who would it be and why?
Well, I really want Kenyon Sadiq. So, you saw my last mock draft. I actually had trading with your squad, the Vikings, to get up to 18. But the more I think about that, I might think the Vikings might take Kenyon Sadiq, put him with Hawkinson and then figure out what TJ is going to do in 2027. But, Sadiq would be the guy if you somehow fell to 28. I love Maxi Iheanacho from out of Arizona State because we have a couple of starting tackles. But I think Iheanacho is the kind of guy that is still growing into his football body, into his football world. He didn't play in high school. He only started playing in junior college and then went to Arizona State. And I think his best football is ahead of him. So you draft him, you develop him in your system. Maybe it doesn't start year 1, but year 2, man, he could step in and really give you something. He really was the only guy that I saw this year that went against the Texas Tech pass rush duo and slowed him down. So I would really like Iheanacho. I'd also like Keelan Rutledge from out of Georgia Tech. He played guard at Georgia Tech, but we need a center. Center is probably, and I feel blessed in saying this, center is really the only starting position that we don't have filled, Paul. And Keelan Rutledge is learning, sir. He cross-trained it at the Senior Bowl. he is kind of Wyatt Teller Jr., and we need that on our offensive line. I would really like Keelan Rutledge. It might be a little higher than I have him rated, but I'm okay with that because I don't know if we can even get him at 38. I would love to have Keelan Rutledge from out Georgia Tech and then teach him how to play center. You know, Grant Barton had to do that with the Bucs. He's done a decent job with that. I think teams and players can make that transition, especially the center. I think he can make that transition, and he would fit our offensive line really well. And it would also answer the one last starting spot question, I think, and that's Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech.
Now, with the conversations that we've had from the combine, through to where we are now, which is a day in front of the National Football League draft, I know you're not bullish on the totality of the quarterbacks in the 2026 NFL draft. Now, quarterback. So, how does that play into this? Ty Simpson, the Alabama quarterback, turned down $6.5 million from Miami to stay in college, and he's opting to come into the NFL. Is that a wise decision?
That's an interesting question, Paul. I mean, when he had to make that decision, really, I think at a point where he didn't know where he was going to get drafted. And look, he's betting on himself. He's betting on, hey, I am 1 year into my NFL career. I'm that much closer to the big second contract I'm going to get. But I think the fact is, and I've seen this, and this is facts, the quarterbacks in particular, because they're getting the most NIL money, they are taking pay cuts, and especially these guys will, because not a lot of them are going to go in the top 2 days. And I think Ty Simpson is going to be a big story on Thursday night, especially as we get into the lower part of the round, because now the Jets and Cardinals are sitting there going, hey, we want him. No, we want him. Okay, well, are you going to go up or are you going to go up? And then there's my team sitting there at 28 saying, hey, we're always ready to trade or trade down if we have to. So come call us. We did it last year with the Giants, moved down and got Jaden Higgins at 34, which is great for us. And then used the other part of the draft capital we got back and drafted our guy Arion Terrishary a little bit later in the second round. So we're sitting there saying, hey, come on, let's go. I mean, the Seahawks are sitting there, hey, we'll move down out of the first round. Come get your guy. So that, to me, is going to be a big story. Again, Ty Simpson would have been better off with more years. But, Paul, you know that I always am looking ahead. I've already started on 2027. I've got at least 5, 6 guys that I look at and think I would take those guys in front of not only Ty Simpson, I would take in front of Fernando Mendoza in 2027. Wow. So in a sense, Ty Simpson is probably doing the right thing, that he'll go in the first round, because I think next year it would have been very difficult for him to get in the first round if all these guys that I project going into the draft next year actually play at a level I expect. He would probably be a second rounder as well. So I think he probably made the right decision this year, being the number 2 quarterback off the board.
All right, couple of quickies to close here, John. Would Dylan Thieneman, the Oregon safety, would he at 18, is that too good to be true for Minnesota, or does it, like the team, the player, the spot, does it all make sense?
It makes perfect sense, Paul. Perfect sense. I mean, other than the one time we play you guys every 4 years, I want them to win because you're the best, and I love talking to you. But I want the Vikings to do well. I think Thieneman would be perfect in that defense. And I think 18 is probably in and around that spot where he should probably go. Now, I have him in my top 12 in the Harris 100. I think the world of him. So it might be a little bit of a stretch, but look, what happens with Ty Simpson? All these offensive tackles, there's a big drop-off after the first probably 5 or 6 of them. So there might be this run on tackles. Look, the Lions have 2 injured safeties, but they also have a left tackle that retired. So they probably have to go get a tackle. So there are a number of teams sitting in front of the Vikings that you could make a case for Thieneman, but the most sense, I think, is 18 with the Vikings.
Now, Caleb Banks, the Florida defensive tackle, how do you handle him and that bad foot? I mean, he had a bad foot, then he went to Indianapolis and broke the foot, but he's amazing when he's like 90% healthy.
Yeah, his 2024 tape is outstanding. He's from Detroit. You can see that kind of Detroit grit, if you will. He's a tough dude, but there's an inconsistency level with him even when he's healthy, Paul, and that bothers me. But when you see him up close, and I've stood next to both Jalen Carter and Caleb Banks, and I'm like, that Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other? Like, that's what it's like. They're very similar.
Wow.
And Banks can play like Carter, but big guys with bad feet, I get really worried about that. But then again, if I've got a good medical team and I trust my medical team and they say yes, okay, then the next thing I have to get comfortable with is, can my locker room surround him and keep him at a high level, meeting the standard that we have on this team? Like, I think about the Texans. We got a great medical team, and we got our locker room that will surround him with positivity, making sure he walks a straight and narrow. I would feel okay with it, but I just worry about that foot, and I worry about the inconsistency and whether he's really ready and mature enough to be in the locker room and do it on a day-in, day-out basis.
All right, so lastly, Arizona State University wide receiver Jordan Tyson. And the reason I'm asking this is because off Banks, you said big guys with bad feet. All right, well, what about skill guys with recurring hamstring injuries? But then you watch the highlights or the tape and some things that he's done of late on his own to show everybody in the NFL he's feeling good. I mean, the guy's a beast. I mean, he can be amazing, but you got a long string of injuries, and of late, hamstring with skill guy. What do you do?
It's funny, Paul. I got two instances on both sides. We had Will Fuller in 2016, and that guy was the most dynamic dude I've ever seen in a field. He could go from 0 to 60. He was so good and so fast. He could get up on a DB and then take off to the post, and nobody could run with him. But he had hamstring issues that nobody could figure out. But then we drafted Nico Collins in 2021, and Nico had hamstring issues the first 2 years. But then we had a new medical team, a new strength and rehab team, and over the last 3 years, Nico's not had an issue with hamstrings. He missed a couple of games in 2024, but this past year, 2025, he was okay. Saw some growth in that, and so they really feel like they kind of solved the hamstring issue, but it's difficult with the soft tissue issues and injuries. And I feel like that's something with Tyson you got to get comfortable with. Again, your medical team. But I feel like as I've seen, my experience is that you can get players past that with good NFL weight rooms, strength and conditioning, the rehab that they have in the building. I think Jordan Tyson is just too good to pass up as a wide receiver, and I think some team is going to add that guy. He stays healthy, doesn't miss a game, and all of a sudden he turns into a Pro Bowler within the first 3 years.
All righty, Johnny. Thank you very much. John Harris, footballtakeover.com. His takes are money. Speaking of money, here comes that cash thing.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, want to give you a chance to win some bonus bucks, National Cash Contest style. Go to KFAN.com, use the keyword rich. Now, you're not going to get rich, but you might win some money. With the keyword rich, just use it at KFAN.com.
All right, here it is. Everybody. Copyright Dan Call the Common Man. Everybody. A lot of Pete. Football Nate. Football Nation. Well, a couple of 13, 14 rubes been waiting for yours truly to conclude this Monday mock that I begrudgingly started. About a month ago, and here we are to pick number 26. And 26 through 32 will be serviced today. And here they are. Let's see. Monday mock. Caden McDonald, Malachi Lawrence, Eli Stowers, Brandon Sissy, Colton Hood, Denzel Boston, C.J. Allen. What's next?
So Monday mock.
All right, here we go. So let's finalize the Monday mock.
I love how begrudgingly it's like, all right, let's come up with some cool draft segments. We're pumped, and you did the Monday mock, and then
I was excited about it.
You started realizing it's like, ooh, Sonny Styles here, Caleb Downs. Hey, where's Arvell Reese? Who is Arvell Reese?
When I had the Missouri edge on two teams at one time, that was the end of the story right there.
Yes.
All right. So if you're scoring at home, or you're podcasting, and you want to grade these picks for veracity, two things: A, don't, and B, here they are. Las Vegas Raiders, Mendoza. I have Arvell Reese, Ohio State to the New York Jets.
Dig it.
Number 3, I mean, according to a lot of these mocks I looked at this morning, I got this guy about 15 spots too high. Okay. Arizona with Miami offensive lineman Francis Mauigoa. Jeremiah Love, running back to Tennessee. Number 5, Sonny Styles, got all his albums. Ohio State linebacker, goes to the Giants. And there, I don't do trades in the first Monday mock.
Right.
And there's already been a real life trade, which messed up my Cincinnati pick. Yeah, right. Exactly. Cleveland Browns have 2 picks in the first round, with pick number 6, Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate. The 7th overall pick, Washington. I have Reuben Bain Jr., the edge from Miami going there. The 8th pick, I mean, there's so much Jordan Tyson steam with New Orleans that he's going to fall there. Nevertheless, their defense is decent, but they have problems stopping teams. So let's get nostalgic. LSU corner Mansour Delane stays in New Orleans. The 9th pick, I got David Bailey way too low. That's okay. Texas Tech edge, David Bailey goes to Kansas City. Now, the New York Giants have the 10th overall pick after the Dexter Lawrence trade. I'm keeping Spencer Fano there, the Utah tackle, because I don't feel like revising. 11th, I have Caleb Downs, safety from Ohio State, going to Miami. 12, I had wide receiver Jordan Tyson. Then I went to Clemson corner Avion Terrell.
Ooh.
Avion Terrell to Dallas. 13, Rams. The Rams, what do we got here? Oh, yeah,
is that Lemon?
No, is it Lemon or... No, it's
receiver.
Omar Cooper Jr.
There we go.
That's what it is. Omar Cooper Jr. from the national champions. Then we get to the Ravens, Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end. 15, Tampa Bay, Miami edge, Akeem Messidor. 16, Jets' second pick in the top 16. I went with Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. So they get, the Jets would go.
Arvell Reese and Jermod McCoy.
There we go. The new age Micah Parsons and the replacement for Saucy. The Detroit Lions, Georgia offensive lineman Monroe Freeling. I feel quite good about that. The Minnesota Vikings, 18, safety Dylan Thieneman. 19, Carolina, Texas A&M wide receiver KC Concepcion. He also returns kicks. Dallas at 20, Jordan Tyson. I put Jordan Tyson there from Arizona State.
Sweet.
Pittsburgh Steelers, guard Vega Ioane from Penn State. Best guard in the draft, not even close. The LA Chargers at 22, USC wide receiver Mekhi Lemon. 23, Philadelphia Eagles, guard Caden Proctor. Caden Proctor there. Cleveland with its second pick in the first round, Missouri edge Zion Young. Bears roll the dice with Caleb Banks. Then we get to the finale with the Buffalo Bills selecting Ohio State defensive tackle Caden McDonald. The 49ers taking UCF edge Malachi Lawrence. The Houston Texans take tight end Eli Stowers. They covet Sadiq. I think they'll take the next best tight end. KC with a South Carolina corner named Brandon Sissy. Tennessee with or Miami with a Tennessee corner, Colton Hood. New England, after it trades for A.J. Brown, will take another wide receiver. This will be Denzel Boston from Washington. C.J. Allen, a Georgia linebacker, goes to the champions. We'll be right back. Hey, generally this is the post-game spot 9 to noon, but the post-game involves the playoffs and John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild. We began with Hynesy. What's up?
Great. Good morning, PA.
Welcome home, and you get that home crowd tonight. That's going to give a natural energy boost, really, to everybody involved wearing the Minnesota Wild colors. They just love the team so much. You got to be excited for that.
Yeah, it certainly is. It was a good, hard-fought 2 games in Dallas, but it's certainly good to get back in our building, in front of our fans and get the series started off here as well.
Is the game 2 win by the Stars, Coach, one where into the equation you tip your cap and say well done and move on, or looking back, was it more of a winnable game than maybe some think?
I think it was a hard fought game, I thought, by both teams, and I thought Wally played well, Ottinger played well. We had some good looks and didn't score, and we had some opportunities, and they had a nice net front tip goal, they had the power play goal, and then I think the first one was an unlucky bounce, but they won that one, so now we've got to take the information from that game and refocus and get ready for game 3.
Yeah, with those chances you had with Urhoff and Boldy and some others, when you look back at it, and that's hockey. They Ottinger made really, really good saves, but that's definitely a positive heading into tonight, knowing you killed them in the first game and you had some really, really good chances in the second game, right?
Yeah, and it's it's not even just about the chances. I think for me, it's just refocusing ourselves on some things that we need to do, from a structural standpoint, play the game that gives us the best chance to win, and make sure that, we're playing intensely, but we also need to make sure that, we're riding that line where our execution and our attention to detail is strong.
What, if you were to craft something close to a perfect game, what structure or what approach for you guys is best suited to help you beat these guys?
Yeah, well, I think I think the way that we play with the puck, when we execute coming out of our end and make smart decisions coming up the ice and get ourselves in the attack, we can be a lot to handle, whether it's off the rush or, in forechecking and offensive zone play. But I also think, when we're a stingy defensive team too, when we're not giving away easy ice, we're good at our net front. We end plays in the defensive zone. That's when it makes our team hard to play against, when we play with that type of detail.
Hey, John, what's the hassle for a coach when somebody of significance like Zuccarello, somebody of significance like Zuki, is part of the morning skate, then has to be a late scratch? Like where does that compromise you?
Well, you're always you have awareness of it, but it's you have to let a couple players know that during the skate that we're going to see how Zuki goes, and you got to talk to the doctors and things after and see how he feels. So you do put some guys on alert, and then you just have to make sure you communicate with them, whether they're going to be in or Zuki's going to play or whatnot. So it's just coordinating that and make sure you're communicating.
Have you guys made a decision with him or training for tonight?
No, not yet. I haven't seen anybody yet this morning.
And with Zuccarello, John, just how important is he for Kaprizov and Kirill's success?
Well, they do work very well together. But there's times where, I think they have good chemistry. They think the game the same way. I know they really enjoy playing together. So that's what makes them good. But there's times where Zuki's been out or Kirill's been out, or they've been on different lines and things like that. And, part of being a team and having a good team is you need guys to be able to play with different players as well. And
when you put Tarasenko on that line, or you move players around, and maybe with the morning skate you didn't think you'd have to do that. Is it obviously you look at certain types of players who are going to mesh well with others, but when you have a line with Kaprizov and say you lose Zuccarello, the passing component, I would imagine, is very important for the replacement, right?
Yeah, there's a different dynamic, when you lose a player off a line or out of your lineup of what that player brings, and whoever is going to fill in that spot isn't going to necessarily replicate what that player does, but they have to play to their strengths. And then you try to match it up with, I think the style of player that might fit with a line or a D pair.
John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild, Game 3 of the playoff series against Dallas at Grand Casino Arena tonight, and on KFAN shortly after 8:30. Joe O'Donnell and Tom Reed on the call. Coach, how did Bobby Brink show up in his first playoff game? And personally speaking, I love the forecheck and the pass to Urhoff after that turnover. Man, that was nice. Yeah,
that was a really nice play. I thought Bobby came in and did a good job for his first game. thought he skated well. You can see his speed. I thought competitively he was strong on the puck. And, that's what we need from him. So it was a good start for him.
Now, it can be argued, at least from those on the outside, that Brock Faber has been the best overall player of all of them in the series. Faber has been so aggressive and clearly is making an impact. On the other side of it, and this is like a teaching point for me and some people listening, does he have to be careful, given he's a defenseman, playing this aggressively on offense?
No, not necessarily, because he's not compromising himself or the team defensively. He's making good decisions. He is a play driver with his ability to skate and move the puck and drive offense. But he's really done a nice job of understanding when's the right time to do it, when's the right time to cut bait, and he's setting himself up to be able to play aggressively and drive some offense. But also he's been very, very good defensively as well.
So stupid hockey question number 2 off this, John, just to continue to learn. When Faber goes to crashing the net the way he has, and it's been quite effective, it's hockey. So say there are weird bounces. Is part of the assignment for the others when they see him do that to know somebody has to get back maybe more quickly than usual?
Yes, exactly. The way the game's played now is your defensemen are so active. Every team has D-men that are active in the play, whether it's coming out of your own end and they're the weak side defenseman and they join the rush, or they're in the offensive zone and, there's a shot and there's an opportunity to go get a rebound or a sprayed puck on their side of the ice, and, they go down and get the puck, and now they're down low in the offense. It's just part of the system. You're one of the 4. The F3 has to cover for the D, and he's got to stay high until that D-man recovers. So it is part of the system and the structure.
Yep, got it. Excellent answer. Thank you. In what ways does last change help against a team like Dallas?
Well, I think it always helps. It doesn't matter if it's Dallas or anybody else. Usually it's just, it gives you the opportunity to, if the referee's arm goes up and you feel like you wanted to get certain guys against the opponent, you have more opportunity to do it because you have that last change.
And with the series at 1-1, from 1-1, did either what you've seen or what you feel now, is there more pressure on players playing at home or on the road?
I think it's really the same, to be honest, in the playoffs. I think that it's I wouldn't say there's any more pressure on home or on the road. I think it's really just being ready to play the game regardless of what the circumstances are, whether it's home, road, game 1, game 4, game 3, whatever it might be. It's just you have to reload and be ready and be focused on what you need to do. And then obviously when you're home, you do get a little bit of a jolt from your home crowd. When you're on the road, obviously they're all against you. So it brings the team together a little bit more. But, to me, we're excited to get home and play tonight.
John Hynes, coach of the Minnesota Wild, just a few to close here. Wild and Stars tonight in St. Paul. That's going to be fantastic. You guys kept your composure so well game 1 when they tried to start stuff because they were getting blown out. So how does one preach keeping composure and staying out of the box while not limiting the inherent and natural physicality that's required to play the game?
Yeah, I think, it's you need to play with emotion, but not emotional. There's a difference. When you play with emotion, you're urgent and you're competitive and you're in your puck battles and, you're into the game. When you're emotional, it goes a little bit over the line. And to me, it's not just the physicality. We need to make sure that, when there's opportunity to be physical, we take it. But there's also the whole other components of the game is you have to be good at your own net front. You have to be good at their net front. You got to win puck battles. You have to play to your structure. And it's not just about physicality. Is we want to be a hard team to play against. Physicality is one component of that. And let's not get carried away with that. Let's make sure that we're focused on playing the game and playing the game that gives us the best chance to win.
So like for the Stars, people who get down the road with Robertson and Johnston and Rantanen and Ottinger and a lot of the familiar names, you guys are super familiar with Blackwell, but a lot of people aren't. So, like, when he comes on the ice, is it like head on a swivel time, because he's there with purpose and or intent? And I'm not saying he can't score or pass, but you understand what I'm saying? When that guy's out on the ice, you got to have your head on a swivel, right?
Yeah, I don't just think it's him. I mean, it raises, I think, everyone's eyebrows because of the hit on Trenny. But it was a play that happened in the game. It wasn't like he ran around and chased it. It was an opportunity that presented itself, and he took it.
Yeah,
and that's part of the game. But I think in general, in playoffs and playoff series, the game it is a little bit more physical and intensified and competitive, just even in puck battles and things like that I'm talking about, than it is at times during the regular season. So you have to recognize that, and you just have to continue to play.
Yeah, with Blackwell and Myers, I guess, with those two, they come on the ice, man. That's like one of the first things I think is like, who are they out there to hit? All right, just a couple quickies to close here. What are you liking about Wally through the first two? I know he plays tonight, Volstead, but overall, with your critical eye, what are you liking about how he's handling this?
He looks really good in the net. He looks confident. He looks big. He's seeing the puck well. I think his rebound control has been very good. He's making the routine saves, and he's also coming up with big stops when we need him. And he's got like that focused competitiveness. He's in the net. He sees the pucks. He's in position. He's competing in traffic and rebounds and tips and things like that. And he looks solid, he looks confident, and he's playing a really focused game.
Lastly, tonight, what's the best overall way to play the Stars? I mean, I'm not saying game one was an aberration, because it wasn't. You earned every inch of that victory, and you won like 61% of your puck battles. Well, the puck battle number flipped a little bit in game two, as did some other things. So now we're 1-1. What gives you the optimal chance to beat these guys?
Well, one is, I think it always starts there, is the controlled competitiveness, right? It's puck battles, stick battles, winning 50-50 pucks, forward play, net front play. And then the next part of it is, we want to make sure that we're playing a skating game, a fast game, and we need to play with good structure. And when we do that, that's when we're at our best.
Amen. Tear it up tonight. We'll chat soon. Thank you very much, John.
All right, thanks, PIC, man.
Yeah. All right, Hynesy, go wild tonight. That game's at 8:30 on KFAN. We got a pregame show tonight. What time does that start? 7 o'clock? 7 o'clock, extended bucket list fallness on FM 100.3 KFAN. For Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. May God bless you and all of your families. Thank you very much for listening to The Fan, and the program is next.